right here, the rock star herself, at the Nikon School Theater, Dixie Dixon.
Hi guys, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. So how many guys are wedding photographers? Awesome, very cool. Portrait photographers? Awesome, very cool. What about fashion? Any of you? Love it. Love getting some fashion photographers in the audience. So just a little bit of a background on me before we get started about the D5. When I was 12 years old, my dad gave me my first camera, the Nikon FG. And at 16, I had my first big break in the industry shooting Little League photography for a whopping $10 an hour. At 17, I ended up joining the yearbook staff, and one of my images ended up making the cover of the yearbook. So for me, that was like the moment when I decided I was going to be a photographer. No longer was I going to be a doctor, lawyer, veterinarian, anything remotely predictable. I was going to embark on this crazy photography adventure of a lifetime. So at 18, I went off to college, majored in business. I figured out that I really needed to know the business side of things in order to actually make a living doing photography. How many guys are business majors? Any of you? Nice. Very cool. I would have absolutely loved to major in photography, but I figured I really needed to know that business side. So it was definitely an adventure. My first real break in the industry was actually shooting for a TV show on HDNet called Get Out. And basically I spent 4 crazy years photographing swimsuit models in places like Ibiza, Spain, Miami, Puerto Rico, like all over the world. So that's when I really kind of discovered my style as a photographer. Never would I have ever thought that I'd be shooting swimsuit models for a living, but I actually really enjoyed it. I really had this great connection with the subjects I was shooting and was able to bring out their real raw personality. So how many guys love focusing on that connection when you're photographing people? It is the biggest part, I think, of photography, is getting that great connection. And I really try to build their confidence as I'm shooting so that I'm able to get those beautiful connections in the photograph. And I'm going to talk to you guys a lot about that today. So this is Kelly. She had a really fun personality, and I like to bring out their real raw personalities. How many of you guys love using fun props? Any of you? I love putting these in the background, kind of adds a cool frame, and just creating interesting images along the way. So this is my current gear bag. Currently I'm shooting with the Nikon D5. How many of you guys have heard of it? Just was released, I'm really excited. And I'm also shooting with the D810, super high res. I love the D5 for creating lifestyle images where I'm really trying to capture that moment, that real slice of life type moment. And the D810 is great for, you know, studio portraits and things of that nature. I currently only use prime lenses. I don't have any zooms, and the reason is I think that the primes make me more creative because I have to walk forward to zoom in and walk backwards to zoom out, and I just feel like the action of that gets me more involved in the photo shoot. However, if you're shooting weddings and things of that nature, zooms are really important. With fashion, you're able to kind of control the situation a little bit more, so I'm able to use the prime lenses. So how many of you guys own the 85 lens? Any of you? Yeah, it's like my favorite portrait lens. Love that lens. So this is just a quick time lapse of one of my photo shoots recently, and you can see the cast of characters that go into creating these fashion productions. And keep in mind that I only started out with me and whoever it was that I was shooting. So I was only starting out this way. I built my team on Model Mayhem of hair, makeup, wardrobe, stylists, digital techs that basically manage the digital files on set. So it's a lot of different moving parts, but the cool thing is everyone's there to create that beautiful magic in the lens, so they're all there to help you. So I have kind of grown my crew over the past few years into these different productions that I'm doing, and the commercial clients expect that production. So it's really fun. But you know, when I'm shooting personal work, a lot of times I like to just have me and the subject and a makeup artist, because it's very intimate. You can get a really beautiful connection. So I'm shooting a broad range of different things. So it's definitely an adventure. Lately I've been doing a lot of different stuff for hair companies, jewelry companies, different magazines, things of that nature. How many of you guys have been published? Any of you? Isn't that the coolest feeling in the world? Oh, it's so neat. A lot of magazines actually take submissions. Have you guys ever tried submitting to different magazines? It's a really cool way to get great publicity. Magazines don't tend to pay that well, but it's really great for publicity and marketing. So I do a lot of different stuff for shoe companies like Florsheim Shoes. This was a recent shoot I did in Brazil. These are straight out of the camera. I haven't had a chance to edit them yet. I'm really excited about these images. This is literally 10 minutes before where the rain started pouring down, almost drenched all of our equipment. Luckily, we brought a ton of trash bags with us, so we were able to cover all the gear and run out of these dunes. How many of you guys have been to Brazil? Have you? Nice. I love Brazil. The culture was so beautiful, and the people there were very kind, very fun, and the models were absolutely beautiful. They actually didn't speak the language, so I had to sort of use sign language in order to capture the moments. So it was very interesting trying to work with them. So like I said, these are right out of the camera. I tend to like to shoot things how they're going to end up in post. So I like to shoot things in camera correctly so I don't have to do a ton of Photoshop. So I hate spending a ton of time on the computer. I don't know about you guys, but it gets old. I like to be out there shooting and involved. So sometimes, as a photographer, you get hired to shoot for very interesting clients, like a bath spray company. But as a fashion photographer, you have to make it interesting. How many of you guys have heard of Poopery? Any of you? Hilarious. They went viral a couple of years ago, and they're now trying to transfer from just like a gag gift to a more of a lifestyle brand. So they ended up hiring me to shoot their new catalog. It was a really fun shoot. This model actually showed up to the casting, because we cast for all these different shoots. She showed up and she told the client that she wants to be the next Pooh girl. I was like, wow, she is awesome. So obviously the client hired her immediately, and she ended up being a great personality for the shoot. Really fun adventure. Recent shoot for Virgin Pulse, one of Richard Branson's many companies. They wanted lens flare in every one of these images. So it was really interesting because I had to create this inside an office setting. So I ended up putting Vaseline on the bottom of the filter and then shooting through it to create that sort of hazy look. So this is this video coming up. I shot recently for a pharmaceutical company. How many of you guys have ever shot for pharmaceutical companies? It's really nice because they have good marketing budgets. So they were wanting to market basically this ultrasound therapy for your face, so they wanted beautiful beauty images. So this is the behind the scenes video from that recent shoot. Behind the scenes videos. Any of you? They're an amazing marketing tool because they're the first thing to come up on the Google searches, so they can drive a lot of traffic to your website. When I was first starting out, I started doing these just on my little Nikon point and shoot camera, and I just kind of put it together using iMovie software, and it really creates a cool look on what it's like to work with you on set. So think about doing those even if you're just doing portrait shoots and things like that. So how many of you guys are familiar with beauty photography? Awesome. I love creating beauty photography. There's a real trick to it, and I find that the longer the lens, the better. So basically, you never usually want to use a 35 lens when you're creating a headshot because it ends up distorting the model's face. You can see it's distorted on her chin and her forehead. It makes her nose look a little bit bigger. So I never use the 35 for a portrait. Usually I like to use at least an 85 millimeter. That's a great focal length for this type of work. And obviously the 180 is a really great look. This one was shot with the 180. This was shot with the 85. I like the 85 a lot for a 3/4 length type of imagery. And then for the full body type, I like a 50 millimeter, just a basic 50 millimeter lens for full length type of shots. So how many of you guys have heard of the 300 millimeter? Any of you? Love that lens. The 300mm f4 is incredible. It blurs the background really beautifully. This is just a pool in my apartment complex. Not really that beautiful, but when you add that lens and a gorgeous talent, with beautiful lighting, you can make a really cool shot because it blurs the background so beautifully. You can see that gorgeous bokeh. You can't even see the ugly apartment complex in the background. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that natural light?
This is natural light. Yeah, very good question. This is like the end of the day, like right before the sun went down, literally 2 minutes before the sun went down. It's like the best kind of light there is. If you ever put anything in that type of lighting, it's gonna look great. Yeah, very good question. This is right before, you can see it's going down here because of the shadow. So I love natural light. This is a recent shoot for a calendar called Magpul. They hired me to shoot this fun, edgy calendar, and we ended up using a lot of the different guest models to create these beautiful, edgy looks. Obviously for calendars, they want that look, and this is a lot of natural light. We also did add, though, we added a light in the background to highlight her hair. How many of you guys have shot in a garage before? Any of you? Awesome, it's beautiful lighting because it wraps around your subject. You just put it right inside the shade and shoot in. This is inside a barn. You can really create beautiful natural lighting that way, and it's non-complicated. I'm not a technical person. I like to keep it very simple when I shoot, so that's how I create these. Love that natural light. And I love backlighting and lens flare. I use a lot of some of the older Nikon lenses as well because they don't have the nano coating, so you get more lens flare. That's just my style. I like that sort of hazy fashion look. So it's really fun to work with. Try shooting through windows. You might get some cool flare as well. She's just on the other side of the window and I'm shooting through it, and you kind of get that cool haze. So that's what I love about fashion photography. There's really no rules. It's just pure self-expression. That's what I truly love about it. How many of you guys work with a lot of wedding dresses? Any of you? Awesome. So have you tried getting that sort of movement on the wedding dress? A lot of people think this is done with a fan, but all you have to do is walk to one side or have your assistant, and they take the bottom of the gown and they throw it in the air about 30 times, and you end up getting a really great look on the perfect throw. So I do that a lot of experimentation, just having fun. This is shot 5 years ago for an Audrey Hepburn-inspired editorial, but it still remains in my portfolio just because it's very classic. And it's amazing the low light that we can shoot these days, especially with the D5. So you can really create that beautiful ambient look and create that gorgeous, gorgeous, moody lighting. So I do that a lot, and I love using HMIs. Have you guys heard of HMIs? So you can rent them at different movie houses. We ended up using 2. We put one underneath the stairs and one in front to create that cool kind of texture in the foreground. So look for leading lines when you're shooting that lead to your subject, so it kind of controls the viewer's eyes when they're looking at your photograph. Fun stuff. How many guys studied art, like in college or anything? Any of you? Awesome. So I didn't. Since I was a business major, I didn't have a lot of that expertise, so I ended up having to learn that after college. So I ended up studying color. How many guys use a lot of complementary colors? Do you know what they are? Awesome. Yeah, so I use a lot of complementary colors. Basically, those are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. So for instance, if you use purple and yellow in one image, it's going to have a vibrancy like no other. It's going to be very, very three-dimensional and really jump off the page. So think about doing that when you're shooting. Blue and orange photograph really well together. If it's sort of an orange background, think about putting your subject in blue because they're going to really stand out from the background. So just keeping these things in mind is really important. I love this dog, and her name is actually Dixie, so she's dear to my heart. And she even signed a doggy model release. When I hired her for this shoot, I had no idea that she would like show up with her own wardrobe, but we ended up using it and played really well in the photographs. It was a really fun day. Again, lots of different colors. Had she been wearing turquoise, this image would not have been nearly as effective because she would have blended in a lot with the background. So just think about these different elements when you're shooting, creating images. Again, red and green, lots of complementary colors. And I like to use pastels a lot for different bridal type of shoots because it's very soft and hazy, great with the bridal type of mood. And how many of you guys love black and whites? Any of you? They're like my all-time favorite. I feel like you get more of the soul of the person when you shoot in black and white because you're not distracted by the clothes. So for a lot of my portrait work, I actually love using black and white imagery just because you can see that real connection and you're not distracted by the clothes. So especially for different lingerie type of stuff. This was a recent shoot for Piper's Perfumery. It was funny because I chose this location because it had gorgeous natural light, and we showed up the day of the shoot and it was pouring down rain outside. Oh my gosh, I was so stressed. We ended up putting lights in the window and shining them in to make it appear like natural light. And luckily we're able to shoot pretty low light with the new D5, so that's really nice. These ended up running in In Touch magazine, which is really kind of fun. And this was a funny shoot. I actually put a star filter on my lens to create that cool look in the background. These are just 40 different cheap tungsten hardware lights that we strung in the background. So that's what I love about photography, is just being able to experiment and try different things and direct the model. And lately I've been getting into a lot of different directing, and I was recently asked to direct the TCU, I was a TCU girl, TCU football commercial. So I was really excited. They wanted me to use part game footage and part new footage that I created, this whole narrative throughout the story. So I'm going to show you guys that commercial now. They played this on the big Megatron before the football players entered the field, so it's like got a lot of good music to it. And then we'll get into talking about the D5 and our live shoot with very beautiful Sarai. Alright, so that was definitely an adventure. Never would I have ever thought that I would be directing a football commercial of all things. So this past summer, Nikon's ad agency in Japan approached me to shoot for the new D5 brochure. Definitely the most exciting moment of my photo career. And they really wanted me to bring to life the beauty of music. So I am definitely a band nerd. Like, I grew up playing saxophone in the band, and so it was a really fun shoot to kind of bring that into it. We used a lot of different complementary colors. We had a whole marching band involved. It was funny because the marching band didn't have uniforms, so I ended up having to purchase the uniforms on eBay, of all things, so that they had uniforms to wear. So much of fashion photography, I feel like, is just problem solving and trying to create the images that you're looking for, buying things off eBay, Etsy, props. It's all magic, and it's all really fun, and just creating the images. So this is our beautiful muse, Annalisa. I found her on Instagram, and she ended up being the sort of star of the entire shoot. And the biggest challenge of the shoot was that they were going to be using the images non-photoshopped inside the brochure. So I had to be sure and really get everything right in camera. I was obviously allowed to retouch the images for my portfolio, but inside the brochure they are not retouched at all. So it's definitely a challenge to get everything in camera. But really and truly, I think it's truth in advertising, because you can really see what the camera is able to produce right out of the camera. So you can see the vibrancy and the colors and everything like that. We ended up having this fun rooftop shop at the end of the day, just creating that fun mood and just having a blast, really. That was at 6 a.m. and this was in the evening. We had to get all these shots within one crazy long day. So definitely a fun experience, and this was actually shot pitch black. This camera is able to focus when it is completely black outside. So I was really kind of blown away with the capabilities of it. You're also really able to fine-tune your focus. The focus points are a lot smaller within this camera, so you're able to really focus in on those eyelashes so you can get really tack-sharp images. A lot of times when I'm shooting fashion, as I'm shooting, I compose the image and then I move my focus point to wherever their eyes are, so you get that tack-sharp look. So that's kind of the way that I do it. So let's get into our live shoot. You want to come on up here, Sarai? Awesome. So Sarai and I have worked together a lot at these different trade shows, and she always bears with me. A little kind of feedback. It's really important to connect with whoever it is you're shooting. And there's 3 things that I do when the model first arrives to create that connection, and that is to always make eye contact when they arrive. Have you guys ever been at a shoot and or whoever it is won't make eye contact with you? It's very weird. It's almost like you don't trust that person. So it's important to make eye contact, to smile, and then my personal favorite, I always give whoever it is I'm shooting a big hug. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but if they give me one of like a big bear hug, I know they're gonna be super easy to work with. If they give me one of the awkward side hugs, I know it's gonna take a while for them to get out of their shell. So when I'm casting for different advertising shoots and actual paid gigs, I only cast the models that give me a huge bear hug and they're super excited, because I don't have time to waste on trying to get them out of their shell. So when you're shooting portraits, sometimes you don't have that luxury, but it really kind of helps set the stage for comfort. And I mean, because how many of you guys actually like being photographed? Any of you? Nope, I hate being photographed, so I can relate. Especially being a photographer, it's like you're thinking about the lighting and all these things. So anyways, you like being photographed though. Not really. Anyways, so I'm gonna grab my camera. And first, before though we get started, just a couple of little lighting basics. The light in here is terrible, but we're gonna make it a little bit better. You're mixing all these different light sources from tungsten, fluorescent, daylight. So we're gonna actually create some black and whites in camera. Usually I like to do my black and whites in post, but if you wanna create cool black and whites on the fly, this is a really great way to do it. So I never light from below, obviously. Hope you guys never hold, like if you're holding a reflector, don't hold it from below, because it's just kind of creating a weird monster lighting type of look. No woman wants to look like that. I also never light women from the side. So I never do this because it kind of tends to bring out all the texture in the model's skin. And with men, you can get away with this, but with women, I like them to look very porcelain, very, very flawless. So I never usually like to light from the side. She has perfect skin, so it's kind of hard to tell with her. But I usually like with women to use more butterfly lighting, which is either slightly off to one side and then more frontal. So this is more beautiful, more flattering on that beautiful face. It kind of makes her eyes stand out. And I always like to get that beautiful catch light if possible. So let's see, can I get a volunteer? Anyone? All right, come up here. Cool. What's your name? Audra? Audrey, awesome. Come on up here. Thank you. All right, you get to get the ice light here. And I'm gonna grab my camera. So today I'm just gonna be shooting with the 85 millimeter, and I really like the 85, it's very versatile. The 1.4 is really nice to have that extra light, but if you're on a budget, the 1.8 is a really great lens, and I actually have that lens as well. So this is kind of a cool microphone, really neat. Right now, let's see here. I am gonna go into picture control. Can we have live mode? Sorry. Oh, you want me to shoot first? Oh, okay, just kidding. No worries. I will, one second. Let me so my settings right now, I always forget to tell people my settings. It's 1/500th of a second and f2.8. I like to shoot very wide open when I'm shooting portraits, so their eyes are tack sharp and then everything else just falls out of focus really beautifully, because that just creates a gorgeous look, makes their skin look even more flattering. So awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and have it. So cute, right? All the clips. Yes, this is a lot of fashion photography, is making everything fit correctly. There's definitely an art to that. So it's very important. All right, so let's have you hold the light. Actually, can you back up more towards the screen? Yes, this is kind of an interesting environment. Always a challenge, right? Awesome. So that looks good. Let's have you hold it a little bit higher and down, like about there. So keep in mind, it's good to tell the model to play towards your key light. The key light is the main light, so that the skin looks really beautiful and it lights up her eyes really nicely. So right now, I'm just gonna create and see what this looks like before I fall off the stage, and see if this looks good, and then we'll keep kind of arranging it until we get a great shot. Gorgeous. All right, so let's get the background cleaned up. So that looks a little bit underexposed to me, so I'm going to bump up my ISO to 1600 ISO. That's a really high ISO. Normally I would never use that, but with this camera you can get away with it because you can shoot such low light. That looks beautiful. Is there any way to get a black screen before I shoot? Sorry, that's awesome. Way better. Perfect. That looks beautiful. And go ahead and close your eyes and open on 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more. So maybe kind of angle your body a little bit. Yeah, that's really pretty. Awesome. I need more space here. It's always interesting working on stage. That looks gorgeous. Good, I like your head down. That's beautiful. Awesome. Let's see what that looks like. That's a cool look. Beautiful. Let's create a couple more. I think the light needs to be a tiny bit lower. Yes, that's even better. That's gorgeous. Perfect. That's cool. So that's kind of a neat, moody black and white. Let's do a couple without the microphone. And maybe stand to that side of the screen. Perfect. That looks good. Awesome. Yes, I love that look. I like that pose. She's kind of creating triangles with her body. I look for that a lot while I'm shooting. And I don't overly pose the models because I feel like that stifles their creativity. So a lot of times I'll see them in a really great look and just kind of pose them. You're holding that for a really long time. Oh yeah, I know the light does get heavy. That's really cute. Scoop just a baby step that way. Yeah, that looks really cute. Beautiful. And light down just a tiny bit. That's gorgeous. And close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, open. Beautiful. Let's do one more moody. Yeah, that looks gorgeous. That's a little overexposed now. We have the light a little closer, so I'm going to bring my ISO down. And I like to shoot in manual a lot because you can really kind of fine-tune your look. And I think we need to bring this back just a little. There we go. So we're getting a little bit of shadow underneath her eyes. So we brought the light back just a tiny bit so it's more flattering. So just keep this in mind when you're shooting to really, you can change things as you shoot. Beautiful. Cool. Maybe kind of angle even more. Yeah, that's really cute. Perfect. That's good. I like a little bit of shoulder. That looks gorgeous. Perfect. That's really, you look gorgeous. Really cool. So keep in mind with headshots, it's a good idea to sometimes shoot from a higher angle. So let's try one from a higher angle. And also keep in mind, whatever is closest to your lens is going to appear larger. So if you're shooting headshots from a low angle, the chin is going to appear larger and you never want that. You always want the eyes to really stand out. So when you have a slightly higher angle, the eyes are going to stand out a lot more. All right, that looks perfect. Good job. Awesome. Beautiful. Let's try a couple more. And go ahead and close your eyes. And 1, 2, 3, open. Beautiful. Perfect. Gorgeous. You look great, girl. So I think we made the most of the situation. Does anyone have any questions at all? All right. Yeah. I can't hear you. What did you say?
Why do you have them?
Oh, why do I have them close their eyes, open them? The reason is I think it creates a slightly fresher expression. When they're just constantly staring into the lens, I feel like they get a little bit tired. So just having them close their eyes and open it on 3 creates a more fresh look, I think. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great rest of your show. And cool. Awesome, thank you so much. Good job, girl.